After the Maine exploded in Cuba, Assistant Secretary of the Navy Theodore Roosevelt sent a telegram to Admiral George Dewey, the head of the U.S. fleet in the Pacific. In the event of declaration of war, the telegram ordered began offensive operations in Philippine Islands. The Spanish-American War had expanded to include the Philippine Islands halfway around the globe from Cuba. Battle at Manila Bay. The Philippines provided Spain's main base in the Pacific. The island's people, called Filipinos, had tried many times to throw out Spanish colonial rule. In 1898, they were trying again. Led by General Emilio Aguinaldo, they had begun attacking the Spanish army and government officials. Now their struggle was about to become part of the war between the United States and Spain. Dewey's fleet arrived in Manila, the Philippine capital, just 5 days after the United States declared war against Spain. At dawn on May 1st, 1898, U.S. battleships faced Spanish gunships as naval bands struck up. The Star-Spangled Banner sailors stood on the deck and saluted the flag. The men were about to engage in what was about to be the first ever battle of the Spanish-American War. By 11 a.m., the entire Spanish fleet was burning, sunk, and sinking. Spain's old wooden ships were no match for the modern steel U.S. ships, with well-trained crews, and only one American had died in battle. Defeating the Spanish. Dewey blockaded Manila's port until U.S. troops could arrive to take over the city. Filipino fighters, allied with Dewey, surrounded Manila. The Filipinos believed that coming Americans would help gain independence. While they waited, Aguinaldo issued the Philippine Declaration of Independence, formed a national government, and designed a national flag. Once U.S. reinforcements show up, the Spanish agreed to lose a fake battle and surrender to the Americans. They didn't want to give themselves up to the Filipinos, who resented Spanish rule so intensely. Fighting the Filipinos. In a treaty negotiated after the surrender, the United States bought the Philippines from Spain for $20 million. Then, in 1899, Congress voted to annex the Philippines. Aguinaldo's government felt betrayed. Angry, the Filipino leader called for war within quarter to false Americans who had been deceived. Either independence or death. For 3 years later, more than 8,000 Filipino fighters fought out better trained and better armed U.S. troops. Soldiers on both sides tortured prisoners. Americans became increasingly cruel, harming civilians and destroying villages. Some Americans protested that denying independence to the Philippines violated U.S. ideals. Carlos Cruz, a leader among the anti-imperialists, said, "We shall, for the first time since the abolition of slavery again, have two kinds of Americans. Americans of the first class who enjoy the privilege of taking part in government, and Americans of the second class who are to be ruled by Americans of the first class." But expansionists won the day. Senator Henry Cabot Lodge argued that the Manila, with its magnificent bay, will be kept to us to open markets of China. President McKinley himself believed that the Philippines could become a land of plenty. More than 20,000 Filipinos and about 4,000 Americans died in the struggle. When the revolt was finally put down, the Americans set up a non-military government to prepare Filipinos for independence. Americans built roads, hospitals, and schools, but the United States did not grant the Filipinos independence until 1946.